Welcome to the Dr. Dare Show live on Facebook and YouTube. My name is Dr. Fred, and I am here with author Joann Cook, our special guest. And welcome, everybody. Let us know how your week has been. Check in. Um, I know my week went by pretty fast. I had 4 new clients this week, so a lot of adjustments were taking place, but week went good, and it's Friday, and so I'm happy to be here. Joanne, how was your week so far?
Hi there, Dr. Darren. Thank you once again for having me on board with you
Yes.
tonight. I haven't had a terrific week. Kind of busy. I just got home from work last night. I work in the travel industry, and I'm gone a lot, but I just got home late last night, so pretty busy. But rest. Had a chance to rest up today, so that's
Good, good. Good. So everybody out there, once you sign in, please make sure you share this video. We have a lot of information to talk about. We're going to be talking about cruel intentions, how to recognize the signs and patterns of a narcissistic abuse. Very, very interesting topic. Yes, there you go. And we will be promoting that book the entire time we are on tonight. So let me find that link real quick and we will post it. Yes, but I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited.
same here. Thank you again.
Oh, it is my pleasure. We have had a lot of authors on the show recently, and we have just been learning so much from each author. So it's our pleasure just to have, authors on. So there's your website.
Awesome.
Yep,
Thank you so much.
yep. And you will see that's where our questions will pop up.
Okay.
Yep,
Oh,
yep.
awesome. All right. So let's see who we're going to have on here with us tonight.
Right. And I forgot it was a holiday weekend. You have any
It's
plans for the
true.
holiday?
No, actually just resting at home with the family.
Same here.
Probably enjoying, of course, a cookout or two, but other than that, just relaxing.
Okay. Sounds good. Self-care. We have
Oh,
to take
definitely.
that.
We will be talking about self-care. That's very
Mhm.
important. That's a very big thing, especially now for me. At this point in my life, that's something that I discuss a lot in the book, and I practice it a lot.
Good. Good.
Constantly taking care of self, because
Yeah.
we don't take care of self. How can we take care of anything else or
Exactly.
anyone else in our lives?
And so many people they overlook that. They think that actually they think they don't deserve that time or they're not intentional with that time. Hey, cousin Hodge, how are ya? Witherspoon, welcome.
Hi.
So yeah, self-care is it's something that I talk about in my therapy sessions all the time. It's something I stress because what I found is most times when people are struggling with things, it's because they're not taking the time to actually relax and understand
Absolutely.
themselves and being intentional about resting. And so that's the big focus for me.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. I totally believe in it. And I too used to feel so guilty, feeling like, oh, if I did something for myself, I felt so guilty. But after going through this ordeal and realizing that I poured so much into others and I was left depleted, why not?
Yeah,
It was
right.
very important to take care of self.
I love that. I'm glad that you came to that conclusion. Can't wait to talk about this book and the word narcissist because we throw it around a lot, and so
Absolutely.
we want you to kind of define. I have a definition up that I have pulled up, but
Right.
we want to talk about that a lot. Hey, Cindy, how are you? Welcome, welcome, welcome
Hi, Cindy.
from Virginia. So we got Virginia here, we got New York here, and we got Atlanta here. Hey, Karen. They're coming in. They're coming in.
I see. Good evening.
So this is author Joann Cook
Hi,
of
guys. Very nice to
Cruel Intentions.
Hi there. So you just asked Dr. Dare. I believe you asked what my take or what is a narcissist.
Hmm.
Okay, so for me, I will start off by saying I can honestly just speak to my own experiences. I
Okay.
definitely don't want to I'm by no means a doctor. I definitely want to just share my experiences in
Yep.
discussing my book. So, a narcissist to me, or what I've dealt with, is a term that is used so much. A lot of people tend to use this term these days when discussing anything relationship wise. If they go through something, they automatically say, oh, he's a narcissist or she's a narcissist. And it just leaves you, you start wondering, well, that sounds a lot like some of the things I go through. That sounds a lot like some of the things I do. But in my eyes, narcissist is a term that is used in many discussions lately, and it describes anyone who seems just overly into themselves.
Right.
Saying something like that, that's
Okay.
a lot of us. That's a lot
Yep.
of us.
It is. It is.
So then
No,
we look at ourselves. I'm so sorry. Did I
no, you
interrupt?
didn't. You didn't. I was gonna say we're gonna get into that at 8:40. We're
Okay,
letting everybody coming in
come
come
in.
in.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Awesome.
We'll get started. I see them coming. And someone says, "Welcome, Miss Joann Cook."
Thank you. I'm trying to see who that. Let's see.
It's Karen.
Hi,
Can you?
Karen. Thank you so much, and you too. Welcome. We do appreciate having you here tonight. Thank you so much.
Yes. 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 And hold up your book one more time so we can see that
Sure,
cover.
absolutely. Right here. There we go.
Yes, so cruel intentions, how to recognize the signs and patterns of narcissistic abuse, which is a term that I hadn't really heard of, but we'll get into it in a
Which
second. So I'm glad those two words together, actually.
narcissistic abuse?
Yes, and so
Oh, wow.
I'm glad you're bringing that to the forefront. So we'll
Well,
start in 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
okay. Awesome.
I know I keep pulling you into these conversations.
Right, but and you have to bring me right back because definitely that is something I want to touch on because likewise, I think a lot of us we were raised and we when we hear the word abuse, what do we generally think of? Physical
Yep.
abuse.
Yep.
Anytime you hear the word abuse, people generally, shock. They look at
Hmm.
you eyes wide open, and they think, oh, she's getting hit or he's getting hit because abuse can work both ways. We all know that.
Right.
But narcissistic abuse is more subtle.
Yep.
It's something I'm starting too early again, aren't
Uh,
I?
welcome everybody. I see everybody coming in. Hey, Angela. Hey, Tanil. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the show. Make sure everybody that's joining in now, please share the video. And it's okay, Joanne. We'll get there.
Okay,
So we have special guest author Joann Cook. Her book titled "Cruel Intentions: How to Recognize the Signs and Patterns of Narcissistic Abuse." And we are so excited to get into those terms because we heard the word narcissist thrown around all the time. And so now we want to, on this show, we want to define it. I actually have a definition that I looked up, but we want Joann Cook to describe her experiences with it so that we get firsthand knowledge from that information. So we welcome you. It is 8:40. And so now we will allow author Joann Cook to introduce herself first, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into the book. All yours
absolutely.
now.
All right. Thank you again, Dr. Dare. So, hi, everyone. Good evening and welcome. My name is Joann Cook. And I was born in Jamaica. I left Jamaica at the age of 10 years old and moved to London, England, where currently my family resides. Actually, they reside in both places. Jamaica and England. I call both places home.
Oh,
Jamaica
okay.
is obviously home. That's my culture. That's home. That's what I will always relate to. But I did get the experience of growing up in both places.
Nice.
I moved to the United States over 30 years ago. I was in my ex-husband, not the narcissist, was military, and we met. He was based in England, in London, and we met. And basically, quick story. That's how I ended up here after marriage, from London to Boston, Boston to Atlanta, where I now reside. Yes, I'm also a former elementary school teacher for the past 23 years.
Mm-hmm.
Been in education, and so going through this whole narcissistic thing was very, very baffling to me because, first of all, not just because I'm an educator, I also consider myself to be a very extremely smart woman, and would think that if I'm going through something
Mm-hmm.
such as abuse, I would know it, or you think that. But one thing I have learned going through this thing is that this abuse is very subtle, and we don't even, a lot of times, most people, women and men, don't realize that you're actually going through it. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
until it was too late. And when I say too late, to the point just before I left, I knew something was off. I knew there were many signs, but when you're in a relationship and you are an empath, um,
Mm-hmm.
you tend to overlook the things that others are saying when it comes to them and what they have been through. You try to fix, and you try to, also that teacher in me. It's not like I babied my, um he was my husband at the time. It was a second marriage.
Okay.
And I was only in this marriage for, it was 3 days before my first anniversary when I left. So we will get into that. But
Okay.
there were many signs, and I won't say I chose to overlook them. Looking back now,
Mm-hmm.
maybe I did, but at the time, I just felt that I was in my marriage and I was a loving wife,
Mm-hmm.
and believing my husband and loving my husband and taking care of my husband. But all along, I was being manipulated and didn't recognize those signs. So, you asked a question in regards to a narcissist. So, a narcissist to me, again, I'm going to mention something I mentioned earlier before everyone joined us.
Okay.
Um, Basically, I just saw you put something up there. That's basically, a narcissist is a term that is widely used, especially these days. We see famous people on television discussing what's been happening in their relationships. So now it's probably becoming a little bit more known, but
Mm-hmm.
it's been going on for such a long time. And it's so subtle that people have been in marriages for 30, 40 or more years. They have children. They decide to stay in it because once you have kids, a lot of people feel like, oh, it's just difficult to leave. We have children. I can work on him, or we can work this out together. For me, though, what I recognize in the relationship I had, this person was just totally into themselves.
Okay.
It was the little signs that I should have picked up on from the very beginning. Going out to dinner, and how he treated the waiters and waitresses, and just anyone that was in, basically, in the service industry.
Industry.
This
Okay.
person felt better and would always talk down. And I would basically come to, say something like, we don't talk to people like that. Yet,
Mm-hmm.
that is how, oh, they're doing their job, they're not doing their job well enough, or things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
So little things like that. And then the jealousies, and then the love bombing was really, really such a big deal at the beginning. I didn't know anything about love bombing. I just felt like, wow, this person is showing me the love that I, in my mind, never received, even though I was in a very, very good marriage previously. We
Mm-hmm.
just kind of grew apart. But this was overly the love bombing. It's like calling all hours of the night, opening the car doors. I mean, those are things that never flattered me. from the very beginning.
But
But
he
it
was doing a lot of that. So how did
just
you meet him? How did you meet this narcissist?
just out and about.
Okay.
It's I believe it was a grocery store.
Okay.
And honestly, it was just showing me I was shopping and he approached me. And at first, of course, I don't talk to every stranger. I walked away, but he, we exchanged numbers, and
Okay.
through those calls, little by little, I should say, how he showed me how different he was. He
Gotcha.
wasn't. It was just a mask.
It was a
But
mask.
I didn't know that. I didn't know any of that at the time. Um,
So that's when he was doing like the love bombing and opening doors and calling all the time and making sure you were okay and all of those things.
24 hours. It was like I'm a school teacher and the phone calls would be all night. I would have to try and break off and say, you know what, I have class early in the morning. We will talk tomorrow. But it was just so much like, oh, I can't go to sleep. Let's just talk until one of us fall asleep. Those kinds of things. And it just continued and continued. But ultimately, Dr. Dare, what I didn't know at the time was
Hmm.
this is part of their regular practice. It is part of their regular practice because they are trying for you not to have any other conversations with anyone else. This includes your friends, your family.
Oh,
It is
gotcha.
it is it is a way of boxing you in,
And isolating you from everybody else.
isolating me from, or us, or whomever is dealing with it, from everyone else. You
Hmm.
kind of become, oh, I'm your best friend. If I have a dinner date with co-teachers that I'm so used to doing, he would come up with, oh, why can't we do these things? I just enjoy spending time with you. Now, I'm not a needy person, but just having someone in your life just wanting to spend that time with you, you
You feel good. I mean,
you do.
to be
You
honest,
become
yeah.
accustomed to that, and you're like, oh my gosh, he wants to spend all this time with me. And we like that, or I did like that. But I realized after a while, my friends and everyone would start saying, Joann, we don't even do these things anymore. And
Mm.
when I mentioned those things to him, he would get upset, like he would use profanity, like F them, they just
Hmm.
don't have a
What
guy
we
like
have.
that, right? And
Hmm.
they're jealous. But I would, of course, I would not tell my friends those things. And we continued the relationship. Everything moved at a very, very fast pace, a very fast pace. So
So
going back,
question, how were you feeling when he was starting to isolate you from your friends and stuff? Were you happy because he was love bombing you, or were you like in between, like I know I need to be with my friends and I know I need to be with the new person that I met? How did you feel, if you can remember?
honestly, no, I do remember. Honestly, Dr. Dare, in the beginning, yes, I felt a little way, but it quickly disappeared because I felt that feeling was overwhelming. It was good. It was a great feeling. You're constantly with someone that you are beginning to develop feelings for, but he's already telling you, I care for you, I love you. And
Hmm.
I'm trying to be careful not to say those things because in the back of my mind, it is still early. But
Mm.
you enjoy hearing those things. And also for me, I liked him. I
Hmm.
liked him because it was, I thought he was wearing a mask. I didn't know that. So he showed me a different side. The little nonsense that he talked about in public, or how he treated service workers or the waiters and other people. After I kind of calmed him down, he would go right back to the sweet person that I thought he was. That I
Mm.
thought he was. So I thought, okay, we won't see that again. So I didn't really feel bad about not spending time with my friends because I saw them at work. I saw them at work and I was able to revel in how I was feeling. I remember telling coworkers, oh my gosh, he loved me so much. I mean,
Mm.
call me. We do things together. He would overly the it's not even about gifts because my love language is not about gifts. It's
Okay.
not about that. But he knew what he was doing. They know exactly what they're doing from the beginning. It's manipulation. It is a way to string you on. And then once he have you or they have you, and especially later on after marriage, that's when you notice everything started from day one after it's
After you
like
said I do, it changed.
everything's changed. Everything started changing.
So
So
the typical word that we all say narcissist, we feel like that's somebody who just everything is about them. They're the center of attention. Even if it's their fault, they're going to blame it on somebody else because they feel like, oh, it can't be me because I'm this perfect person. And so the definition that I have up is narcissistic abuse is a type of emotional abuse where the abuser only cares about themselves, kind of what I just said, and may
absolutely.
use words and actions to manipulate their partner's behavior and emotional state, kind of all the stuff that you just listed. And effects of narcissistic abuse can vary depending on how long. And I cut that off. Okay.
You said vary on how long. Honestly, what they try to do is basically they get a form of supply, the word supply from us. And what that is the adoration that we have for them. They know
Yep.
that we genuinely love them because we don't know who they are, right?
Mhm.
So we don't know that they're wearing a mask. So for me, I felt that when I met him, all the things that I loved playing tennis. I loved working out. I
Mhm.
loved cooking my Jamaican meals. I loved traveling. All of those things, he started adapting. See, they are, they don't have any of these things. They are emotionless. They don't have
Right.
those things, but they take from you. They try to deplete you of those wonderful, loving qualities that we have. So I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I found someone that loves to play tennis. And
Mhm.
every evening after school, inside my garage, I had a big old basket full of tennis balls, and I had
Mhm.
several rackets. He would start saying, "Oh, can I come to play? Can I play tennis with you?" I would ask, "Oh, do you play tennis? I love tennis." Dr. Dare, I
Mm.
knew this man didn't play tennis when we started playing on the court. But again, in order not to make this person feel bad, I'm like, I would hit the ball would pass him, he would try to hit it. I would say, "Oh, okay, next time," try not to make him feel good. "Oh, okay." All these little things when all along I kind of felt like he was doing that just to say he played tennis. But I thought, oh my gosh, it's sweet because he is trying so hard to
For
impress.
me, yeah,
Right,
to impress, yeah.
right. But
Yeah.
those are the things he tried to become. Words that I use in my vocabulary, um, grading my students' papers, and just words that he hear me talking to friends.
Mhm.
Little by little, I would hear him start using them in his vocabulary. He was taking bits and pieces of me. And I
Wow.
realized he does that with other people, important people around him. The jealousy was there. He would talk about his family and he didn't have any friends. That's a very important thing to also state. They don't
Okay.
generally have friends. He would say that friends and family are jealous of him. He didn't have anything to be jealous of. And hence the reason I felt for someone that I'm not a type of person that go after people that have, oh, he has to have this or he has to have that. I felt
Right.
for people for the qualities.
Mhm.
But little by little, I was seeing the qualities, but it didn't hit me at that point. It didn't hit me till it was towards the end when I realized that I was in a narcissistic relationship.
Wow.
So I realized that the qualities that we have, Dr. Dare, and
Mhm.
I do believe anyone that's watching the show tonight and maybe know of someone that's going through narcissistic abuse relationship may recognize this.
Mhm.
They generally try to become who you are. They take all the goodness from you. And when you look back, like I did through journaling, I realized that all along, I fell in love with myself. I fell
Mm.
for the qualities that I already had within me. I thought he was caring and loving and kind and would take care, not take care of me, but all of the qualities that I have, loving, giving. But he
Mhm.
was depleting me of those things. And I was becoming that empty shell that I didn't even recognize myself. The anxiety started creeping in. Uh,
Mhm.
there were times when he would just call from work and he would say, "Babe, don't cook tonight." Here's a good example. "Don't cook tonight. Let's go out. We're going to go out for dinner." So I would get dressed and I would dress up, and as soon as he walked through the door, I'd be like, "Just hurry up. I'm starving. Let's go. Let's go."
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
Dr. Dare, I promise you this, and it's also in my book, because these are the times that I really, in through journaling, that I got so angry at myself. There are a couple of chapters that I'm so hard, and to this day I'm still hard on myself.
Mhm.
You are a teacher. You knew. How could you let this happen? But Dr. Dare, when he looked at me that evening and said, "What are you talking about? What? I never said that."
Mm.
I stopped and I'm thinking, wait a second. I'm a school teacher. I have meetings in front of parents all the time. I tell parents how to have their children work on their homework and how to be prepared for class and how to learn to read and how to help your child succeed. And
Mhm.
here I am questioning myself, my sanity. Did this man tell me that we were going out to dinner? And there were multiple times after that, they'll say something, then retract it. They'll give you, it's like, what do they call that? Negging. And
Uh-huh.
I started questioning myself. I find myself going to the doctor a lot and telling, my doctor, like, wait a second, I think I'm forgetting things. I started questioning myself. And that is exactly what they want for you to do.
Yeah.
Um,
Because their goal is to pull you into. I know I've worked with a lot of narcissistic patients, and their goal is to pull you into these arguments, and they want to make sure that they're right. And so everything that you say, they try to nitpick on those little things. And
Absolutely.
so that's a part of them saying, I'm in control, and I'm powerful, and I know everything, and you just kind of got to just go with the flow.
Absolutely. And it can, this kind of, going back to what you just said, it can start off with me noticing something like early in the beginning, it would be like my bag. I'm in the shower, and
Mhm.
when I come out the shower, I look at my bag and it looked disheveled.
Mhm.
And I'll say something like, "Did you drop my bag or were you in my bag?" And it's like, "What are you talking about? No." And then from that, it would spin to something else that I was doing, basically, that probably got on his nerves. And my asking a question about something that he was guilty of, but I didn't realize that he was guilty at the time,
Mhm.
um, turned into, he wanted the blame off himself. So he found something to start an argument with me. So then myself defending myself about something else, when in actuality, I was trying to talk about, were you in my bag? So
Wow.
that happened a lot. And talking about being in my bag, those were the little things he was doing. When someone
Mhm.
is in a narcissistic abuse relationship, the abuser is basically trying to get everything they can. They sought you out from the beginning. So I don't know if just watching me coming and going, and just, I don't know how I don't think my approach in that grocery store was just on purpose. I don't know if it was from, I don't know, but it was like he wanted my home, he wanted my car. And
Wow.
Dr. Dare, there was a lot I lost everything. I did.
Oh, wow.
I lost everything. I did because through from that disheveled bag and just little things over the course of the year that I was married to him, but I was dating him for 3 years. So a total of 3 years, but was only married to less than 3 days
Less
before.
than
Right.
one
Before
year.
the one
Okay.
year. Right. And so throughout the course of the year, just being in my home and everything, he managed to look through private stuff, house deeds, all of those things, and manipulated, made different paperwork. And there were so many things that when I eventually found out 3 days before my first anniversary, it was like God wanted me to see everything because honestly, the way it happened, he used my computer. I'm not sure what was going on with his, but he used my computer and forgot to log out. And I was going through so many emotional ups and downs, anxieties, going back and forth to the doctor.
Uh-huh.
There were shouting matches. I mean, I found myself crying one minute for not even knowing why, but it was anxieties. And honestly, instead of seeing that loving, caring character, I honestly will say I was looking into the eyes of evil because it was just this smirk and glare. And you would think that if when you're married to someone or in love with someone and they see you cry, the first instinct is, babe, what's going on? Come here, let me. It was just a glare, and that's when I knew that something was not right.
Something's not
there,
right.
there was a lot of other incidents, and I don't want to talk about everything because it's a
It's
lot of
in the book.
book, but at the same time, I wanted to share with the audience out there that the way I wrote this book is because I went through so much and I questioned my sanity. Um, if I had something like this, because I didn't even know about narcissistic abuse, if I had something to read, of course now I feel like I have my doctorate in narcissistic abuse because when
Right,
you
because you've
go
been
through
in.
something,
Mhm.
I found myself I couldn't sleep at night. I stay up, I read, I studied, I asked, I'm seeing a coach. I asked my coaches about things like this, and there's so much. It's NPD. It's narcissistic personality
Personality
disorder.
disorder. Mhm.
And it's not discussed a lot. I wish, I believe it is a crime. And I believe that these people should be, I won't say locked up, but I really believe that they should be held accountable for what they put people through because it is a lot. And I sometimes feel, I'm not
Mhm.
sure how you will feel about this or the audience, but I sometimes feel that if it was physical abuse, I could have dealt with that a lot better because the scars or it heals. I'm not saying you don't remember it, but this psychological pull and push,
Mhm.
it stays with you. And there are times, yes, I want to forget it, but I just have to close my eyes and those things are right there. The
And see,
cycle.
the thing is that he left you with anxiety, being anxious, because one thing that they do is that they find your weak spot and they just continue to dwell on that. And we had Tennille said, wow. Karen says, I want to grab some of these people. Karen says they sought you out in the beginning. That is an eye opener. Angela says, so happy you're out of that horrible relationship with him, and I really appreciate all the healing and sharing the signs for us to read and look out for. Thank you so much. Blessings to you. um, and Karen says, I'm trying to catch everybody up. I totally agree with you, Angela. And then this is the definition of narcissistic personality disorder: a personality disorder characterized by an exaggerated sense of self importance. I've had clients that are narcissists, that everything is about them.
Absolutely.
They could care less what you're saying. And then when they do listen to you, they listen to you to find something to nitpick on and to argue with you about and to make sure that they are right in that argument. And they will not stop that argument until they've had the last word. Did you experience it?
A lot of times. And it could start with something having to do with him, like we would get dressed to go out. So the jealousies were there from the beginning.
Mhm.
And you're thinking, how can my husband be jealous of me? He was jealous of the fact that I was a teacher. I have such a very close relationship with all of my parents until this day. I'm that teacher that relates to my students. I had students from second grade that I now have that are out of college. And as a matter of fact, spoke to some of them today because we're trying to. I sometimes go to lunch with these students that are out of college. So I would
Mhm.
get phone calls from students, and he would be like, it could be a male student. Well,
Mhm.
no, a male student, no quotation needed, a male student. And he would say, why is he calling you? This is a student calling. Um, I have such a good relationship with my students. This one particular gentleman, we have the same birthday.
Mhm.
And whenever his parents would bring a cake into the classroom, half of it would say, Happy birthday, Miss Cook. Half of it would say, Happy birthday, blank.
That.
I don't want to say
Mhm.
his name.
Right. Right.
So, this person, this young man and his parents would call me all the time and they would say, Miss Cook, thank you so much. You have helped Michael so much over the course of his, just hearing little things like this man would be sitting in the corner and try to interrupt my conversations like, oh, babe, we have to go out or whatever. At the time, again, I'm just like my friends. I kept thinking, okay, we have something to do. He wants
Thank
just
you.
to spend.
Oh no, go ahead. I was just telling Angela thank you. She
Okay,
said she
no,
had to
no,
go.
I didn't want to interrupt you.
No,
But
no.
again, what I didn't realize was he didn't like not having all of the attention. It's
Attention.
all about him. Even being jealous of students, young people. And that made me realize, it wasn't just my students. He would talk about his sister. He would talk about a family, a cousin that he has that's doing very well. And he would talk about them like, oh, he thinks he's this, he thinks he's that, all of that. And whenever you try to say something, if someone was on television and I said, oh my gosh, that is so beautiful, I love what he's wearing. Oh, so you're talking about a man now, about what they're wearing. It's everything has to be about them.
About them.
It
Yep. Just
turned
like that
out,
definition says. Yeah. It's
and he would
they.
argue with me night and day about it. And he would not. The silent treatment is another big thing.
Mhm.
It's a way of punishing you, but I didn't know that at the time because Dr. Dare, I do that too.
Mhm.
Sometimes you're mad at someone and you're like, I don't want to talk to them, you know,
Mhm.
but I
Mhm.
didn't realize that's a form of punishment. You don't communicate with someone, you don't talk to them, but his went on for days.
Oh wow.
That is a
So
form
he wouldn't talk to you for days
for
after
days.
y'all had a. Okay.
And this was toward just before like I left because I started seeing all the signs after marriage, remember? So a
Mhm.
lot of those things. But I learned a lot from this.
So how did
Honest,
you start writing your book? Kind of tell
okay,
us.
sure. When I went through after leaving him, well, I'll just back up just a little bit for the
Okay.
audience.
Okay.
3 days, it was June 29th when I finally found the strength to walk away. A lot of times I think as women, and I actually won't just generalize and say as women, but I think more so for women, we don't want to leave something that is not good for us because yes, I just had a wonderful beach wedding and everything that went into it. My family loved him because he wore this mask.
Mhm.
So everyone was fooled by him, but behind closed doors, I used to see those little signs. And a lot of women, we tend to say, okay, it will get better. It will get
Mhm.
better. But the last straw for me was June 29th. When I opened that computer, yes, I started that and I didn't finish. I opened that computer and he forgot to log off and everything. It was like, bam, opened up. I'm not the only person he was going through the motions with. Now he's married at this point. There were 5 additional women that was going through, not married, but it looked like he was working on the discard phase. And for those of you that don't know what the discard is, they go through all of those things, the love bombing, they deplete you of it's the abuse is emotional, it's financial, it's just everything, and sometimes it can be physical. I didn't encounter a lot, and I say a lot of the physical because towards the end, especially when I found out who he was, yes, he reached for me, he lunged at me, he pulled my hair, because now guess what, the mask was off.
And you
So
saw
he
him for who he was.
So I found out through the computer all of his lies and the deceit, and he was making copies of my personal things because, yes, the marriage would have entitled him to my home and whatever. And that's what, because after marriage, I moved into my home. I didn't want to leave my home.
Hmm.
Um, he didn't have a home. So I mean, there were lies behind that. He had a home that his brother and wife and his niece lived in because he claimed they lost their home, so it would be easier to move
Live
into
with you.
mine. So the lies were just back to back. It was so many things. So once I found that out and I confronted him, I didn't know that I should not confront a narcissist, because then the rage was there, and I was at home with him. I had to run out of my home and run to my neighbors, because
Hmm.
I've been living in my neighborhood for over 10 years, my home by myself, and they knew me before they knew him. They didn't really know him. So I thank God that we were in the kitchen when this happened, and I confronted him, and the rage that I saw was I cannot even explain it. I honestly will tell you that it's like his pupils dilated. And a lot of people will not understand this unless you've been through it, because I've talked
Hmm.
to other women and other men since this, where I've had conversations with people that's been through narcissistic abuse.
Hmm.
Talking to someone like, I'm sure the audience right now will say, what is Joann talking about? That day in the kitchen, when I confronted him and showed him what I
All
had,
the stuff.
and I
Hmm.
screenshot and took pictures, because and I'm so glad I did, because that's what I was able to use to divorce it. I was able to divorce him less than 6 months because I had all these things.
Hmm.
But they don't want to be discarded. They want to be the one to just leave you, and for you to be like your sanity. A lot of women, a lot of people, they go through psychological stuff because they just don't know what happened. They felt they were in a completely happy
Yeah,
marriage.
like
Yeah,
right,
they
right.
were happy, because I certainly thought I was happy until all this stuff. A lot of my friends used to talk about, oh, marriage goals, marriage goals. One thing I say to everyone these days: stop looking at the internet and looking at people's feed and looking at people in their relationships and talking about, oh, marriage goals, oh, you guys have the perfect this. You don't know what's happening behind closed
Exactly. I always tell
doors.
people that.
Right. So that is something that I don't even discuss, talking about marriage goals. Everything could look one way, but behind closed doors or whatever, it's something totally different. And I learned that. So
Wow.
I ran to the neighbors, and that day when I said the rage, his pupils dilated, brown eyes, the white part of his eyes, I didn't see any white part. I honestly felt that, honestly, a lot of people will not believe this, but talk to others or do your research and talk about the pupils and the dilation. I saw it. It was like this man was not, it was like that mask fell off, and hence the reason I designed the cover of this book. If you can see, if you can see the perfect gentleman, that's who I thought he was. But
Uh-huh.
when I designed this book, I did this because what I saw was those eyes, there was not one part of the
Of the
white.
white
I did
part
not see
showing.
any, and I had to do my research. And I heard or read several. I don't. It's called something. I don't know what it's called, but honestly, something. This is an illness, and I don't know how I was caught up with this person, but I had to
Oh,
write about it. I had to write about it, but I didn't plan on writing a book. I wrote. I journaled, and my job takes me away often. But On my downtime, I would get my phone or I would voice record when I wasn't able to write. Every time I had a thought about what took place, and I would write about it. And
Mhm.
it was just supposed to be my journal. I never thought about writing a book, and especially about something narcissistic abuse. I wrote what was going on with me, and my journal turned into the book, and it was just released January 22nd. So it wasn't something that I had planned on doing. I love my job that I'm currently doing. I did leave teaching because when
Mhm.
everything happened, I'm a third grade teacher. I'm an elementary school teacher. I am the type of teacher that give my all to my students. But going through what I was going through, I wasn't in that headspace to be their mom, their doctor, their caterer, just everything that
Right.
you are to those students. But I kept in touch with them and their parents. To this day, when I'm able to tutor, I still do it. I love teaching and it's my first love, but I realized that self care is very important.
Right.
And ultimately, I went through so much. I didn't, when I left, even though I discarded him, the main thing to get rid of these narcissistic people, you have to block them on all platforms.
Mhm.
Phone, cut it off. Block them, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, whatever. But for me, because of the rage and the anger that I saw, and he reached for me and he pulled, I was wearing braids at the time, and he actually pulled one out, trying to reach for me, pulled it
Wow.
out. My neighbor, because I ran to the neighbors, they called the police for me. And
Mhm.
when he came out there, now, you remember the rage that I saw in the kitchen? Guess what came back right out front in front of my neighbor?
The
Very,
math.
babe, what's going on? Baby, what's going on? What is wrong? It's like in front of others, he can't show that.
Right.
He couldn't show that.
Because you have to be that perfect person in front of everybody else.
So of
Wow.
course I didn't, that something in me right then and there, I didn't care what my friends thought. I didn't care what my family thought. It was 3 days before my first anniversary, but I didn't care. I had to, I needed to get out of this because that was not a place I wanted to be. That was not something that I signed up for. This was not the person I thought I married. The look that I saw in the kitchen changed everything. And
Wow.
from there, my neighbor, the text, everything that I saw on the computer, the police took him away. And with my wonderful, wonderful, wonderful lawyer, who is a very young 29-year-old woman, and I, to this day, I'm so grateful to her. I love the fact that she was able to give me lifetime protective order, because
Wow.
apparently what I've learned about these narcissistic abuse, narcissistic people, that I discarded him, and that's a no-no. So
Because he wanted to discard you. Because
yeah,
you said he was in that
right,
charge phase for
with other,
you,
right,
but
with
you
others,
with
with
others. So
yes,
how many other people you said
there
it
were
was like
five. There were
5?
There were five. And what my heart, that empath person that I am, and I remember, my daughter, I'm telling my daughter, I should reach out to these other women and let them know. And I remember my daughter telling me, Mom, she's a psychology major. And I mean, she, of course, been out of college for a while now. But she
Huh.
basically says, Mom, the same way you would not have believed someone telling you that this person has love bombed them just the same as he love bombed you,
Yep.
no way will they believe you. But my heart, again, that empath in me, did not want another woman to go through what I just experienced, because that hurt was something undescribable. It was something I can't describe to you to this day. I did my best to put it in the book. I mean, I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping. I now no longer in that home, because so it was like upside down. The bills, when I thought the bills were being paid, if I left it for him to mail it or whatever, he did some crazy things with my bank account, and just money, financial abuse. I went through a whole lot. Some things
Wow.
I can't really discuss.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
I went through a
Right.
whole lot and basically had to start over. So I'm no longer teaching. And The industry that I'm in now, I'm totally loving it. I'm gone a lot, and you know what? Learning to love me again. And
Hmm.
it's all about my self care. I discuss self care so much in the book. I travel a lot. I do a lot of solo trips, and I don't need someone. I shouldn't say I don't need, but at this time, I
You
like
don't.
getting away by myself.
Hmm.
Um, I plan carefully. A lot of people ask me about how do I travel solo. It's very easy when you plan and you know who's picking you up. And there, I talk about that too. So if you have any questions, just my website, talk to me about that. You can do it. And I am having the time of my life. I am learning to love me again. I question myself as to what was it about me that made this person think it was okay. And it's not okay. But I think we have to not rush into another relationship. I have yet to, it's been 5 years. And I know the sad part about this for some people. And, I've been lectured by my mom, and, you know,
Hmm.
and God did not design you to be alone. And I do know that, but I'm okay. I'm having the time of my life right now until I am ready.
Yeah, and you have to process all of that stuff you've went through with that person, um,
Absolutely.
to make sure that you're ready for that next relationship. Thank you for sharing those stages of what you went through with the narcissist, because some of these I hadn't heard of. So now I'm gonna have to go do some research on all of these. But I had put up, there's your website that you mentioned.
Right.
It's on the screen now. So, guys, go out there and purchase this book, to learn about narcissistic abuse. This is Cruel Intentions: How to Recognize the Signs and Patterns of Narcissistic Abuse. Does anybody have any questions out there? I know we put a lot of information out here, but please purchase this book. Knowledge is power. The more you are able to recognize when you meet someone and they're displaying some of these, I call them red flags, um, but you have never met a narcissist. I had a client that was one, and it was just the worst experience that I had to discharge, because they pull you into these arguments and that's all they want to do. And I had to tell the person, this is not therapy. This is not therapy. You want me to get into this vicious cycle of going back and forth with you, but that's not what therapy is. And so
Right.
that's how I discharge that person. But narcissists, they believe everything that they do is right. They believe you are always wrong, or they're going to debate you until you agree with everything that they say.
And
And the
can be, oh, sorry.
mhm. No, you go ahead. Go
And
ahead.
can be extremely dangerous, very dangerous, because honestly, I don't know what would have happened if I was not able to, because I found out all their secrets. If I wasn't able to run through that back door, I sometimes wonder what would have happened,
Wow.
because he's a big guy. So
Hmm.
I definitely thank God. I prayed, I thank him, because they can be extremely dangerous. I've heard of things that happen. They mess you up to the point that sometimes the abuser cause injury to them. I mean, the abused cause injury to themselves because they
Wow.
question all of the ups and downs and thinking, am I going crazy? The gaslighting,
Yes.
all of those things, the different things. There's something, I didn't want to discuss all of it because obviously the book, but it's like projection. And that's what you're talking about. They project everything that they're doing
Yep.
back onto
On to
you.
you.
And
Hmm.
and then there's something called future faking, which is he did a lot of. He would say, we're going to do this next week, or when I come home, I'll work on the kitchen, I'll do this. You wanted to put this up. I bought something for the kitchen that from day one to the day that I left him, he would constantly say, I'm going to do, I'm going to do, I'm going to, future faking. And then you say, oh, we're going to do this next week. Next week would come, nothing.
And
It's keeping you on those strings. It's all of those little terminologies that's being used. And devaluation is when they put you down by using different, words, or it would almost be like they're giving you a backhanded compliment. They're
mm,
devaluing in. You're like, oh, you got that job. Oh, I didn't know you were qualified for that job. So things like that, backhanded, trying to always make themselves better.
gotcha. So we have a question. You
Yes.
mentioned being an empath. Do you feel that the narcissist knew that about you?
I totally do. After one of our early dates, and you'll probably laugh at this, I'm still this way with students or kids, wherever. I'm big on that science teacher. If we were inside and my students saw a spider, I'm that teacher that would say, please don't hurt Bobby, do not hurt that spider. Let me go and get a napkin or something
And
and
we'll
we'll put
take it
that spider
outside.
outside. Definitely. We were going into my home and we saw a spider right in front of the mat. He was about to step on that spider. And I said, no. And I did the same thing with a leaf. I picked a leaf off the bush in front of the house and I picked the spider up. And I remember this look of, in my mind, it was like, oh, he's just so impressed by that. What I realized, because a lot of what we realize as empaths after the fact that we were in a narcissistic abuse, everything starts to make sense. All those little looks and everything that you thought was, oh,
Oh, right.
he was like, aha, gotcha, got you. He knew.
Checking it off.
He
Yeah.
won't even hurt a spider. So all of those things, and I wrote about those, but yeah, when I look back at everything, that's why everything with my journaling started to make sense. And I was like, Joann, how could you not have known? How could you? But that's with every narcissistic abuse person. Talk to them and they'll tell you, I didn't see the sign still once the fog was cleared and you're out of
Yeah.
it.
Because they're
Yeah.
manipulating you.
Yeah.
Their entire time they are manipulating everything. They look for those weak spots and they manipulate. And this is with any relationship. When you're involved in the relationship, it's hard to see what other people on the outside can see. That's why I always say go to a therapist, because a therapist, I know
Mhm.
many times I'm listening to people's personal stories and I see the pattern of behavior that is creating their problems, but they have no clue. So no, no one's looking at you saying, why didn't you know? As a teacher, how did you get involved? No one's, I know
Right.
I'm not thinking that. I'm like, you were in the middle of this person, like Karen said, which is a good question. He noticed that you were an empath
Mhm. He
and
ran with it.
harped on that. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And we go back. I also mentioned in the book, don't I know there are people that would say that. I had a friend that earlier on, I kind of put up my boundaries too. And sometimes we have to do that with our close friends and even family members or
Yep.
anyone. I remember going through it and I would cry so much after. Even though I left him, I was hurt because I was in my marriage for being in love and I thought I loved the person I was with. I didn't realize that he was a narcissist. I didn't realize that he was wearing a mask. So those feelings for me is still valid or was still valid when I left.
Right.
But I remember a friend telling me, "Oh, he wouldn't have done that to me because I would have known." And what that's telling me is that so you're basically saying that Joann didn't, Joann is gullible or Joann is naive or Joann is, and it made me, those are things that you don't want to hear from anyone, let alone your friends.
Right.
Because yes, I'm a smart woman. People fool people all the time. I tell in
All
the
the time.
beginning, I felt like I lived a Lifetime movie. And I see these things happening all the time.
Hmm.
I talk to a lot of women now, and there are several that says I've been married for 30 years and I didn't know I was married to a narcissist. I have the silent treatment. He'll go to the downstairs or he'll go in the bathroom and he's on his phone all night, obviously talking to other women or whatever.
Hmm.
But I've been in this marriage for over 40 years. So these things happen. It didn't just happen to Joann, and Joann was gullible. So hearing something like that from friends or family, and saying, how did you not know? You're a smart woman. Teaching and being an educator or being a smart woman does not equate to you knowing what everyone is thinking or what they're in a relationship for, or if they're lying. It means that you trust, and simply because you trust, you shouldn't be then belittled or
Hmm.
put down from others about, oh, they would not have done that to me. So yeah.
So one thing I'm stuck, and I agree with you. One thing I'm stuck on is the narcissistic discard. Can you tell us a little bit about that? They basically take you and use you up and then
Yeah,
discard.
that's it. That's basically it. Because financially, my once happy bank account was through this person. It was like, again, it's going to be like, Joanne, you should have known better. He talked me into buying a very expensive car. And guess what? He was the one out there driving this car, but it was my name on the car. So again,
Mm,
it was financial ruins. It was all of these things, but it wasn't talking me into buying the car just so that it was like, Joanne, my credit right now is not where it's at. And of course, I'm going to pay for, and I'm in a marriage. So I'm like, why wouldn't I believe my husband? So
right.
of course, so it was little things like that over time. Yes. And
Okay.
they use you up. And when they see that now the letters are coming and the bills are coming and whatever, now they need a new supply that will supply them with all the lovey-dovey feelings, all the adoration, all the money and financial, all those wonderful things that he had with me at the beginning. So he was ready to move on, but I messed up the plans by, you know, um,
Finding out. Right.
finding and everything. And that's why I think when I saw that rage and when I said about the eyes, I don't know what that was, but like I said, it is something. There is a name for it.
Oh, I
Um,
found it out there. It's I think it's narcissistic rage is what it was called. I believe. Yeah. So, any more questions out there from the audience? Great information. Make sure you share this information. Make sure you go buy the book because I think a lot of people are narcissists that we don't even realize, and we're entertaining them all the time, especially in relationships. And then we leave broken and not, I guess, discarded, and not knowing that we have
you're
been
left,
through that.
just left. And
Yeah.
it's almost like what some people lose, of course, not just their home, just everything. Some of them lose their kids because when you have children with them, apparently they use the children as pawns. So they're in your life forever. And it could be like, I'm taking the child for the weekend and then they're gone with the child. And they're quick to move on. So one person could leave you today and be in another relationship, moving in with someone tomorrow.
Wow.
It's just like that.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Well, it was a great pleasure, great information having you on the show. So glad you shared your book. Make sure you go out and get the book. Here is the link there, www.cruelintentionsbook.com, and you can purchase this book. I'm going to go get it because I do see clients who are narcissists, and I love to see experiences because it gives me that information to know what I'm looking for in therapy. But I suggest everybody, if you're dating or need to be dating, or you're dating, you might want to go get it. Karen saying something. I'm trying to read and talk at
I
the same
see
time.
that. Karen, I see. She says she has had it used against her in relationships, being an empath. Thank you, Karen.
Yes.
And I appreciate you being on tonight. I also would like to say the book is
Sure.
also available. The website that you have at the bottom, I can sign copies are available on my book site, on my website, but you can also order from Amazon, but those won't be signed, unless I have an event. And I don't have any upcoming events in Atlanta, but definitely will inform. But for the signed books, they can be ordered only from my website. Thank
Okay. And what you could do is after because this saves, you can go in there and add any information you want to
you. Okay,
add so people can
absolutely.
find it. And make sure everybody shares this video. I think it's so very, very important. Again, thank you for spending your Friday night here with us. Um, Love these. I learned so much from you, and I'm loving it. So I'm gonna go and get my book and read it and
Thank you.
share it with my clients as well.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I so appreciate your time tonight. Thank you, everyone. And we'll definitely just reach out to me if you have any questions. I'm totally available to answer those for you.
Yep. And Tennille says, thanks for sharing your story. It really helped clarify characteristics of a narcissist.
Very welcome.
Yes, yes. So have a great holiday weekend, everybody. Do some self care. Make sure you're taking care of yourself and having fun and enjoying your life. You only have one. So we're out and have a great weekend.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.